I had issue with my Instagram account that it kept kicking me out of the account every time I opened the app. Yeah. And then I log in and it kicks the VA app. So I was like, fuck it.
I've had similar, yeah. I had it myself, and I think you said that exact same thing to me, is just be careful, because when anyone's on an interview, they're selling themselves as well. And I think the key thing with that is, well, for me, is getting rid of them fast. If they promise you the world, and then if something feels off straight away within the first week or two, I don't think you talk about it a lot as well, is things are never going to get better.
One of the best moments of my business career, when last summer I went to the Maldives for 4 days and I didn't have my phone.
Yeah. And
I was like, it's the fucking weirdest thing in the world. So it's like, since I've been like an entrepreneur, I've been like fucking like on it all the time or whatever. If you're an online coach looking to blow up your fitness business, we have an excellent example here of someone who's literally done that. He has a fitness business doing over £50,000 a month. He's come from Leeds in the UK, has a very nice accent. And we were just talking about how amazing Dubai is and to live in. So if that's the path you want to walk, we're going to discuss how Adam's walked that path and where he's looking to go into in the future. So thank you very much for your time, Adam.
Thanks for having me, mate.
In terms of you first getting into online coaching, what would you say was the first starting point for you? Because I don't think I've ever asked you that.
Yeah, so online it was a pretty strange one, just COVID. I think that pushed me, because I was doing a boot camp in Leeds at the time, and that got shut down in lockdown 1, and then I just thought, this is not going to last very long. We'll, just chill out and it'll be all good. And then lockdown 2 happened. I was still kind of seeing people moving online, but not really kind of doing anything about it. And then I think by the 3rd lockdown, I was just like, I need to go online now. And then as soon as I went online, just took off straight away, pretty much.
What first gave you the idea for it? And were you afraid with the switch?
I think I wasn't afraid with the switch, but I think what gave me the idea was seeing a lot of people just doing it and doing really well. Well, doing well, I see people making $5,000 a month, $7,000 a month. I'm like, fucking hell, I'd love to do that online just off my laptop. And a few years later, it's a different story altogether.
I'm smiling because I distinctly remember maybe like 2018, like for context, my parents live in Marbella. I remember sitting outside on my like iPad. Someone had paid me £60 for a coaching program. It might be probably earlier than that, 2016 maybe. And I was like, this is fucking sick. Yeah. It's like I'm in Spain and people are paying me, and I was like, and that was like obviously quite early for a lot of people, but context is always interesting because it depends what you're exposed to, right? And like initially, like you're like 5 to 7K a month is fucking sick, and like, and now like you see people doing that in like one sale, you're like, fuck. Yeah. And I think that's where, particularly like we're sort of both from the UK, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, you're not exposed to huge success or like wealth or like growing businesses, you don't really understand what's possible, right?
Yeah, exactly. Literally from day one for me, it was like, shit, I've made $1,000 this month online. That's sick. And then it's like, I've made $2,000. I've made 3. And then you like start making 5, and like, shit, when's this going to stop? And then that whole world just opens up to you the more you, I guess, surround yourself with different people and people that are doing better to open that up for you.
Quickly, does that mic need to be moved forward and down a bit?
Yeah. Okay.
Just move it down a bit.
Sorry.
I'd move it a little bit lower.
Down a bit.
Yeah. Is that go lower?
It's gone a bit now.
There you go, perfect. There we go.
Is it covering my face?
No, that's perfect.
That's all right. That's better, actually. I can see you now.
Yeah. And what's interesting with that, though, what would you say was the biggest challenge you had initially?
I think the biggest challenge coming online for me was because I was running a boot camp already, so I could sell on the phone. I knew a little bit about marketing, enough to get a few people to raise their hand to say they wanted to work with me. The biggest challenge for me was actually setting up the online platform. So I had 5 clients before I even had a true coach, trainer, or anything like that. I was like, just one day I'm going to do this. Reached out to all my ex-clients and said, look, I'm going online. This is how it works. Do you want in? Let's jump on a quick phone call. Signed 5 people up in one day, and then I was like, shit, how am I going to coach these people? And I sat down all night trying to figure out like True Coach and how to set that up for the first time. So I think that was the most tricky thing, was just getting my head around the tech side of it.
And what you said there I love, and this is one of the biggest mistakes that most people make, is they spend way too fucking long making their program, and then no one signs up. You want to sell it first, then figure out the fulfillment afterwards, right? And it's like, and I think, and you figure it out as you go along, right? Because it's not going to be perfect fit straight out the gate, but you build it. The more income you get, the more clients you get, the more volume you get into the business, right?
Yeah, I think I speak to so many friends who are wanting to do online, and they think they have to have the perfect program and they have to have that all laid out first and all the systems before they even get a client. And I think you need clients first, and then you can figure that out. Blag that as you go until something gets good.
What you said there is one of the words that I hear a lot, and people say like, "Oh, I'm working on systems," and I speak to people, and they're like, their business is at the same point it was 6-7 months ago, and I'm like, "What have you been doing?" Like, working on systems. Yeah. Systems for fucking what?
Literally, you just need something to coach them on, a check-in form, a Loom account, and that's enough to get you to your first 10k month, I would say.
Yeah, Calendly call booking link.
Yeah,
a way to take a payment, and then a software like Kahuna's or True Coach or whatever to coach them on.
Yeah,
and then Loom.
Literally, that's it. And you can do all that in 2 hours, and then you're set.
So then it makes me laugh, because when people give you say they've been led down the garden path of making systems for 6 months, it's like, you're not running fucking Apple or Intel. Like, you don't need systems.
What systems have you actually been building?
Yeah. And I think one of the most important things I think I've learned in business is thinking, what problem does this solve? Because I'll give an example. We have a data woman who works with us who's like called Amma, who's a genius, who's like a super data nerd, but I actually have to say to her sometimes, like, pretend I'm autistic and I can't deal with too many numbers. Yeah. I only need these 6 things. All this other shit I don't want to see. I just want these 6 things. Yeah. And I put it on one screen so I can sit in one place. Because sometimes people like data and systems for the sake of it, but it's like, what decisions are you actually making with that? Or like, what does the system actually do, rather than like looking cool or sounding smart?
Yeah, exactly. So I think the key to anyone wanting to start is just start, find someone to help, and then figure out the rest in time. You don't have to have that all done first.
That's a good question you mentioned in terms of finding someone to help. Obviously, you've worked with our mentorships before coming to us. What would you say is the key things that you've looked for in terms of people to help you grow, if that makes sense?
I think for me, looking into a mentor, I would want to see that they've done well themselves, and that I can like aspire to get to where they've been, and also that they're helping other people at the same time. So I think it's all, you go on about it quite a lot, is I've done the thing, I help other people do the thing, and respectfully, if no one's got those 2 things, then why would you listen to them?
And it's a bit like I give the analogy of like, you wouldn't take financial advice from someone who's broke, and then also almost like if you've got a leaky sink, you don't call a carpenter, you call a plumber, right? Like, you call someone who's actually like done the thing you want to do and can fix the problem. Yeah. Whereas a lot of the time, I think there's people sometimes who it's like that analogy. It's almost like those who can't do teach. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's almost what started to happen.
I think so many people get, probably not even full 50 clients, and all of a sudden they think that, they've had a 10k month, they think they know how to run a fitness business, and then they want to teach other people. I think they see it as a quick money maker on the side, as opposed to just get really good at the business side. If you've not even built your own team and your own business first, then how can you teach someone else? You can teach them to get to 40 clients, but beyond that, like, you just teach them from theory rather than actual practice. And I think that's key, is to have someone teaching you from practice.
I think what you said there is the theory practice debate is, and I'm sure you've seen this business so many times, and like, I'm like, this is a really fucking good idea. Like, this is fucking the best idea ever to make loads of money. I try it and it flops and it's awful. Yeah. And then that's
a lot of those.
And why that's a good thing is that, like, I talk a lot about like feedback loops, right? It's like, okay, that didn't work, so like, that's off the table. And I often get people come to me with like these really elaborate strategies. I'm like, that won't work in a million fucking years. Like, yeah. I know it won't work, and they won't believe me because someone else has told them they will. And I'm like,
yeah, 100%. And I think, my mind's gone blank now. I was going to say, the biggest thing one of the biggest things that you help with is saying what not to do, not just what to do. Because I think our call the other day, when I was like, I don't know if it's to do this or this or this, and you're like, don't do any of that, just do more of what's already working for you, and then it just clears everything up really quick. But without you have gone through that yourself and tried all the things that I was thinking about trying, then you wouldn't have been able to give me that advice.
And I'll give a good example. I remember when I first moved to Dubai, I was like a bit all over this place. My personal life was going through a divorce and stuff, and I remember I'm going to find the photo. I wrote like $1 million a month. I put like 15 lead generation strategies. Yep. I hired someone to try and do everything at the same time, like 90-day email automations, webinars, YouTube ads, like TikTok ads, fucking everything. And it was like an absolute clusterfuck. Because no matter how intelligent or hardworking or good you think you are, one of my favorite sayings is like an idiot will beat a genius when a genius is split 5 ways and an idiot just focuses on one thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're an idiot, but like, or me either, but it's business is a game of simplification rather than multiplication. And you now see this, how like the level your business is at is that the bigger your business gets, the bigger the shiny object over here gets, because
100%.
You've got money, time, leverage, and fuck, I'll just do it.
Yeah, 100%.
And what would be an example of that maybe that actually you've come across?
A couple of examples for that for me. I think the first one is not to the level where you wanted to make $1 million a month and you try 15 different things, but when I first started out, like I had Instagram converting really, really well for me. And instead of just going all in on Instagram, I'm thinking, right, I need an email list, I need a Facebook group, because you hear,
someone's done well with it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And then you're like, so you spend so much time trying to get this Facebook converting when Instagram already converting for you. So I think for me, I wasted a lot of time trying to have multiple channels. I know now multiple channels is probably important just from a risk side of things in case anything ever goes down. But at the start, definitely for me, was trying to do all these channels and just doing them okay instead of just doing one and just going all in and getting better at that one. That's the first thing. The second one's this morning. My friends was telling me, one of my friends was saying like, oh, I've just joined this course. It's an ads course, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, and then I like, it sounds interesting. I'm like, oh, tell me more about that. And then I'm like, no, shiny object. And then just kind of.
I'm interested. What was the strategy on the course?
He didn't tell me much about strategy. He just said, oh, I've just joined this course. And then, it's like when you hear someone's joined something. And then I was like, I'm not even going to look at it. I'm not even going to type the guy's name into the thing because I don't want to see it. I know what I need to do and I just need to focus on that.
I'll give a weird example actually I found helpful for this. So I had issue with my Instagram account that it kept kicking me out of the account every time I opened the app, and then I log in and it kicks the VA app. So I was like, "Fuck it!" In the end, so in the end, I was just like, "I'm just not." I didn't go on my account for like 7 weeks, and then I had the same thing. I haven't been on it for like last 2-3 weeks, and I then actually found that really useful because what's good is it stops you seeing anyone else's shit.
Yeah,
because you're not getting distracted with like, "Oh, well, he's doing that. Maybe I should try this type of stuff." And the reality is, we just need to do better of what we're doing rather than try and like reinvent the wheel. And if Sam down the road says this ad strategy is working, you don't know what they've had to do to try and get that to work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And same happened to me probably just before I joined you, which if I'd have been with you wouldn't have happened. But I joined the program, which was ads focused as well, different one to the one that my mate was talking about this morning, but it was completely different funnel to what was already working for me, and I already had the thing working, but I decided I'll just do this other one. It took me like 2 weeks to build it all out. I was like literally like massive like funnel, like follow-up automations, absolutely everything. As soon as I turned it on after like 2 days, I was like, this is shit compared to what I'm already doing. So why have I just wasted?
It's too complicated probably, right?
Yeah, literally too much messing around. And I think it just simple would be better on it, just Instagram. And this was on Facebook, and the quality of the leads were terrible that were coming through because naturally I think Facebook is probably a worse platform for time wasters than Instagram. And I'd spent 2 weeks and I'd probably spent $4,000 on that. And then literally after 2 days of running it, I was like, just stop this. Then we had our call and I told you about it, and you were like, yeah, just do this 1-2 things, and that kind of got me to the next level straight away.
I think what I'm proud of you is from a mental point of view that you did there, which is a really difficult thing to do, is cutting your losses.
Yeah.
Because to tell another stupid business story, that same January when I was like trying to do 15 strategies, I hired a tech team that I paid $70,000.
Yeah,
and I let that fucking go on way too long. Because like I'd already put so much into it. I was like, oh, they'll sort themselves out. And eventually it's like we ended up hiring a VA who we pay like $5 an hour to do the same thing.
What did you hire them for then? What was for that 70,000? What was the promise on that?
Basically like setting up like messenger ad tracking with specific UTM links, and like doing all the back end tracking with every funnel, Hotjar and everything, building all the funnels, like everything. And the reality of it is, this is probably one of the biggest lessons I say for anyone listening to this. As you grow your business, I actually put a post up this in my story today. One of the biggest things you need to understand is that no matter what business you're in a recruitment business, right? Because you need people to fucking work for you, right?
On that, yeah.
And I was like, when I read that, I was like, fuck me, this is like the truest thing I've ever heard. And the bigger your business gets, the more that comes true because you have more people, right?
Yeah.
And when I interviewed this guy, he'd worked on the fucking nuclear submarine for the Navy. He was jacked. He was like really well spoken. I was like, it came recommended from another like mastermind I also spent $50,000 on, which wasn't great. And like vetted by them. And I was like, this guy's gonna be fucking perfect. Like this guy's gonna like get us, gonna be like the advantage, right?
Yeah.
And I interviewed him, and then I said to everyone else how fucking great he was. So then what happens? Cognitive bias. They speak to him and like, Jason, this guy is fucking amazing because Charlie thinks he is, and they're going to believe whatever I say. And then we ended up hiring him. And then what was even worse is that after the first, I think it was the second month, he was like, oh, like there's so much work, I need my team as well. So we ended up paying like another $7,000 a month to get the rest of his team on. And then I was like, and then suddenly we were doing like 18 grand a month or whatever it was, and that, and I was like, I don't know how many months we were in, but you know, and you're like paying his knowledge really fast, and I would never. It was an expensive mistake, but it's better I made a $70,000 mistake now than a $700,000 mistake in 2 years' time or something.
And you'll see it coming now next time.
Oh yeah, and it's cool. It's a cool story. It's an expensive story, but and that's why it's easy to say from a position of experience sometimes of like, and I didn't understand this before as well. Is that when anyone's interviewing with you, they're selling themselves, right? And I'd worked in sales and managed other businesses before, but I'd never really thought about that.
Yeah, I had it myself, and I think you said that exact same thing to me, is just be careful, because when anyone's, on an interview, they're selling themselves as well. And I think the key thing with that is, well, for me, is getting rid of them fast. If they promise you the world, and then if something feels off straight away within the first week or two, I don't think you talk about it a lot as well, is things are never going to get better, because you always have that gut feeling. Like, I don't know if you ever get it, but you can, like, it just starts off small and you're like, something's a little bit off there, and then it'll just get bigger and bigger. And I think just as soon as you get that first feeling, you're usually always right. So just act upon that straight away.
And I think one of the big mistakes people are often, the bigger your business gets, like particularly the position you are now, doing like significant numbers, so huge kudos to you. Thanks. It's a different skill set that you need at that point, and different skills you have to learn. It's literally like business acumen rather than like post more content, message more people, like, which is what most people tell you. And I think that's where the real lessons get learned, and the ability to have the hard conversations. To give your partner as an example, Leah, in terms of like, she's had some conversations she's had to have in a business, and like been given maybe poor advice previously in terms of structuring things. And I think one of the mistakes I see people make is they don't have the foundations in place correctly, and if it's off, then when it scales up, it's a fucking shit show, right?
Yeah, and if you think it's bad now, imagine that.
At a zero.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just only going to get worse. And I think for me, is definitely having the hard conversations was a hard thing for me as well, because I've not come from experience in doing that. But I just think the more you do it and the faster you do it is going to pay off in the long run for you. But it is hard. That's probably one of the most difficult things for me about running the business, is getting rid of
being
people
the boss,
that are just not performing, because they're nice people at the end of the day, but at the same time is you need something done to a certain level if you want to get to the next level.
And this is some advice a friend gave me, actually, and I actually wrote on like my Trello board for like personal development thing. It was like, don't let anyone don't let anyone stop you from achieving your goals and dreams because they're incompetent, basically. So it's like,
I like it.
Like, because it's true, right? Because the people who aren't performing for you are literally holding you back, and they're pulling down the average of the people who work for you. So I'll give a good example, right? So we do a lot of like outbound phone dialing, and I think I mentioned this on the call last night. We have 2 new guys who've started, Gareth and Dave. And Gareth started on his first day. Our quota for outbound phone dial is like 300 calls a day. He did 640 in a day. Wow. So you're like, fuck. So like the standard
quota's gone up now.
Yeah. So like everyone's looking around like, what the fuck? Like, so then Dave's come in and he's doing like 400 plus. Yeah. So like the standard is getting pushed up because of the people you bring into the team and then the culture. To the point where we're like scaling and broken our calendars and we can't book more calls. It's now a new problem to fix. Yeah. And that's the merry-go-round, right?
Exactly. And I think that was one of the big like realizations for me when I joined you and I saw how your business was run, is the people that are in there running it, like just how good they are. And I think, it kind of made me realize, like, if I want to get to the next level, I need to step up and train people more, because that's one thing that I was dropping the ball with, but also I need to get better at bringing the right people in for each job. And I think that was one big thing with you that I was really impressed with, was just how slick everything is, the whole operation.
Appreciate that. And I think like my goal now is just try and hire people who are smarter than me at specific things. And like, and it's one of the tasks I've done with you a lot. It's like the love and loathe thing, right? And I do that with myself a lot. It's like, what do I actually want to do? So if you get a piece of paper for anyone listening to this, you put a line down the middle of it, you put love top left, loathe top right. Everything you do every day has to go on one side or the other. So like, what do you like doing? What do you not like doing?
Yeah.
Inherently, the shit you don't like doing, you're probably not very good at anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the big things I remember for you, I think that really moved the needle was like pulling you a lot out the fulfillment side of things.
Yeah. Because
you suddenly got a shitload of time back and like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah, exactly. I literally got a whole day a week back just by stepping back and training one of my team to kind of run the bits that I was doing with that. And it just freed me up then to bring in, an extra 10-15% more people each month than what we were bringing in because I was stuck in it. And I think one big thing that I learned from you and one mistake that I was making was not delegating the things that were less than my kind of hourly rate, if that makes sense. I think one big thing what you said is work out roughly what your hourly rate is, and anything under that, just delegate it, in the business and outside of the business. So we have like a maid now who does the ironing, the washing, changes the bed, everything, just so that when we're working, well, when I say we're, me and Alia, on her business as well, is when we've got time, we're spending it working, or we're just spending it chilling. We're not spending it doing like chores or
bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one big thing that massively helps because you get so much headspace back to focus. And I think, and the quote from you as well is, I'm going to butcher it now. Something about thinking rather than working. You can tell me. So, I think that one hit me a lot.
So this is actually, I think I ripped this off Eric Thomas, and it's rich people don't work, they think.
Yeah.
And the more time I have to think, I'll give it's a sad example, but it's like an example of a business problem, right? So like Corby unfortunately sadly passed away last week, and that was obviously a big problem. I was suddenly like, fuck, like you need to try and solve this. And so I literally like moved all the calls and shit out my like diary, and literally I think I just went for a walk and just fucking sat somewhere and just like pen and paper and just like fucking wrote and just thought, like, how can I solve this problem? Yeah. Because that's literally what you need to do it's literally just to think. And I think too many people are very reactive with their business rather than like literally just sit or like be in their own head of thinking of like, what's the thing holding me back? So very fortunate that we've now had Gavin McHale come on as a mindset coach, and then Joe Marcuse is starting next week to do 2 group training calls a week. Joe's fucking amazing. He's helped me a lot in the past. I don't know
I've seen his stuff on Instagram, but I've not worked with him or anything like that, so I'm looking forward to
Joe's a G, and ironically they're both from the same town in Winnipeg, Canada, and we've also got Jack from the sales team, Closing Forces, can do one-to-one training calls. But that's an example in terms of like a practical sense of like when shit hits the fan, like you've got a problem, there's like no one's going to fucking solve this for you, right? So you need to sit down and think your way out of this.
And you need time for that, and I think that's where getting rid of all those tasks, chores and the repetitive tasks within your business, if you get all those off your plate, you're going to get hours back straight away. So I think again, it's a really big thing that I think we implemented that straight away as soon as I joined, and I think within like 1 or 2 weeks I was just so much time back, and it felt good.
And this is the reality though, right? So like I said this to you, I said to everyone, is that the job is that your business works for you, you don't work for it. And how can you design your business so that it gives you the lifestyle you want? So like, if you don't want to fucking coach people and don't do check-ins, then don't. Like, if you don't want to do the fucking housekeeping, which I imagine you probably don't, then pay someone else to do it, right?
And here in Dubai, you can get that done pretty cheap anyway, to be honest. So,
and I think that's understanding that that's when you really have a fucking awesome life. Because the way I look at it is I'm either working or I'm enjoying myself. Like, there's no like.
But when you're working, you're enjoying yourself most of the time.
Yeah, because I enjoy the work.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. Which a lot of people don't understand, but I think that's if you enjoy what you're doing at the same time, it's not work to me anyway. I enjoy kind of growing it and just trying to get to the next level, and the ups and downs. Even though some days it's awful, you kind of like it in a weird way.
What you just said to me then, I find amusing because it's the same. Because like, I'm almost like a kid where I want it to be broken so I can fix it, right?
Yeah.
And also this is a part of self-development that I spoke on a previous podcast with Alistair about, that like you often inherently, on a lot of people, almost cap their own growth because they're almost trying to prevent themselves from like going too fast and too big because they can't mentally handle it. Like I see that a lot, and respectfully, one of our clients, he went from 15k to 40k a month, and he started to lose his mind. He was like, in like 3 months, he was like, oh, I don't know if I could do coaching anymore, I need to slow down. And I was like, this isn't overwhelming. I was like, overwhelming is you go from 40k to 15 again, right? Like, like exactly. We've all been there when your business dips a bit, like, fuck, like, that's context.
I think you need it to be a little bit overwhelming. I think, and it's almost like sometimes you get that false sense of security where everything's been going well for a few weeks, or even a couple of months, and nothing's gone wrong, but you kind of know something's coming, and you've got to be prepared for it. But also, it's like in a weird way, because it's coming. You kind of like, well, now I can, I'm more fired up, but like, I'll work a lot harder when shit's hitting the fan than when things are just going like ticking over nicely.
And I think business, you're always going to have, you're going to go from problem, you either have a problem or a crisis, right? So like, problem is like, client disputes and wants their money back. Crisis is your Instagram account's disabled, or Stripe's disabled your account. And I think just understanding you're probably going to be cycling through that constantly is part of like being an entrepreneur, and just knowing that that's okay. And
I think a couple of things have happened to me, and I've just told you on Slack, shit, this has happened, and the first thing you say, just chill. Happens all the time. And then I'm stressing out, and I'm like literally panicking, and then like you're just like, oh, just chill, it'll be fine, we'll sort it. And I think just having you say just chill, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, it's not that bad. But if you've not got someone who that's happened to before in the past, then you're just freaking out, thinking shit, the world's going to end, and that's it, the business is gone.
And that's why I say to you, like, there's no problem or like anyone that you could ever come across that I haven't had. Like, I've had payment, Stripe shut me down, I've had PayPal problems, I've had Instagram account disabled, I've had ad accounts disabled, YouTube got disabled for a while, like fucking everything's been a problem. Staff leaving, staff passing away, like all types of random shit, right? And it's just understanding that you're going to have problems in business, but then yes, we're here to help you in terms of growing it, but it's also like when shit hits the fan, you're like, that's when it's really helpful, right?
Yeah, exactly, because instead of panicking or making the wrong decision or whatever, you can take a step back and just be told, look, this is what happened to me, this is how I did it. And I think one thing what I like about you as well is no matter what's going wrong, I think when we were in Vegas, you said to me, oh, I can't get into my Instagram account.
Literally again.
And I was like, fucking hell, you look quite chilled out to say that, and you just stood there chilled out, you're like, yeah, it's all right, I'll fix it later. And if that was me, I'd be like, losing my mind. So I think like kind of learning from you that even if things go wrong, don't freak out, and there's always a way you can fix it if you just take a step back and you've got the right advice, being given to you.
100%. I think also that comes with experience, because it's happened a lot to me, and I think that's why everything I'd say to you and to anyone else is that from mistakes I've made, and also knowing what can happen, and that's why an important thing for anyone to do is what's called a SWOT analysis: the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats for the business. And if you literally like write that down, like what's your strength, what's your weakness, what's the opportunities where you can grow, what's the biggest threat, like I don't know, probably for everyone it's going to be the same things, right? Instagram could disable you, Facebook could disable, they could disable your ad accounts, you could get
payment
blocked on LinkedIn, your payment gateway gets shut down, tax issues maybe, legal issue potentially, but I've never really seen that, touch wood. They're probably the things that are really like, and obviously like death, but we're trying to avoid that one. But after a certain run of the mill, there's only a certain amount of problems you can have, and once you've probably had them all, like the way to navigate it, right?
Yeah, so are you kind of planning out what they could be, and then kind of figuring out a little bit in advance, what would I do if the worst happened? I
won't lie and say that I sit and plan out, but in my head I know like
that could
happen. If all my payment gateways got shut down, this is what I'm going to go and move and do instead. This is like not ideal, but it would work, and it's functioning, right? It's fine. And then same in terms of like other social media platforms, or like if Facebook disabled me or whatever, which we never know. This is why I like podcasts, can you say whatever the fuck you like. You just need to bear that in mind. And I also think an important thing to understand is that something that works now might not work in 2-3 years time, which is why you need to be curious but not reckless. And what do I mean by that is, like, I'll give a good example. My friend Frank, who's doing a training in the mastermind tonight, is really, really bad at distracting me and being like, I'll give you an example. He sent me a video this morning of like an AI software, and you can basically get your like long format videos like this like transcribed into any language you want. So like we could put this in Spanish, and I'd be talking Spanish, you'd be talking Spanish, and it was pretty fucking good. And he's like, you should translate all these into Spanish, everything you're doing, start running a Spanish offer. And I was like, and I started thinking about it, I was like, no, like we've got way too much we need to do already. And I think that's an important thing of like, you need to be curious and look at stuff and be aware. But for me, one of the most important things to understand is like, I'm only looking for home runs. Like this definitely fucking works. I'll go and do it. Yeah. Like I know this system works in this business. I've seen loads of people do it. My friends doing it, 100% it can be done, then I'll do it. Yeah. But I'll give an example. It's like a paid webinar in fitness. I don't know anyone who's done that successfully or recently. Yeah. And Adam Power's ad company helping us, really fucking amazing in terms of like just backing and tweaking some stuff. I think his guy Patrick knows Mark Zuckerberg. He took our lead cost from like £10 to like £2. But they suggested doing a VSL. I was like, it won't fucking work, because I know it won't work. Yeah. And that's again like experience of saying, this is my industry, but that's your niche. It's like you know how to get it to work, but this won't work in this vehicle, if that makes sense. Yeah, exactly. And one thing that you just said there was people trying things that worked 2-3 years ago. Do you think you see a lot of people and some of the newer mentors maybe teaching things that potentially used to work, but because they've not got a fitness business like you that's working currently, would you say you see them teaching things that are maybe a little bit outdated compared to some of the strategies what you teach? 100%. Like, I would say one of the worst strategies, for example, I've seen is people doing free challenges and free 5-day challenges, free challenges on paid ads. I'm like, if you think about this logically,
I've done it, by the way.
Did it work?
Not really.
There you go.
I got less clients on the week that I did the free 5-day challenge with 200 people in it than what I would have got on a normal week just on Instagram posting, messaging people, because everyone who would have probably joined the program did the challenge, and then I was like, yes, I've got 200 people in this challenge. It's going to be such a good week. We got like one client off it or something.
And I know that because I've tried all this shit, right? So like, and that's why like I see people pushing that, and I think one of the big things is understanding human behavior, because if you're trying to target people with money, like I would use myself and you use an example, if we weren't fitness trainers and we wanted to get in shape, I wouldn't go and join a free challenge. I would just pay someone to help me. Yeah. Like, who's the best person who can solve this problem? Like, who, not how. Adam's the man. Like, let's jump on a call. How can you help me? Cool, let's do it.
Yeah, like, exactly, because you value your time, you value your resources, so you're not going to waste even 5 days on a free challenge when you can just pay and get everything fast-tracked. So, yeah. And the problem I see with that is that sometimes people are lured into, like, it sounds like a good idea, but often the things that sound sexy are a terrible idea, and the things that are, like, pretty boring and monotonous, like what I said to you in Vice, just like not changing anything.
Yeah, just like improve the fucking system. And it's the same for our businesses. Like, and I've said this numerous times. I have like a sticky note on my computer screen that says like, get aggressive with the detail, because I always want to do more different shit. And it's like, I don't need more like different strategies. I just need to do better with what we have and more volume of it, right? Yeah, because better is a form of leverage, which is something I learned on a YouTube video like a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, well, that makes so much sense, because if you do everything better, you have more leverage anyway. So, and an example of that is training your team, and you learning the skills of how to take your skills and pass it to someone else, which I haven't found naturally is an easy thing, because I'm a bit of a lone wolf. Like, I want to fucking do everything. Yeah. It's now I'm like, I actually said to Aidan, who like is like CEO and runs most of the stuff, I've been like, particular fitness business is like, pretend I'm not here, I'm like a consultant. Like, literally, I'll just like, ask me a question, I'll give you the answer. Ask me a question, I'll give you the answer. I'll just tell you what to do. Yeah. I'm not allowed to get involved, because otherwise I like want to do the whole thing, if that makes sense. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's another good thing that I liked about you, is you've built a business and you've pulled yourself out of it, and you spend, how long would you say you spend on a fitness business per week now? Hour or two maybe. Okay, so I think it's exactly like what you spoke about. Is it made me laugh the other day. Like, ask them, if you're going to hire a mentor, ask them about their fitness business. Did they sell it, or did they shut it down, in your words, because it was shit? And I think that's definitely a key question for anyone who's looking for a mentor, is what happened to your fitness business. And the goal for anyone who has a business, I actually think about this more now that with experience, hence why I didn't put my name in the name of 7-Figure Scaling Systems, is what do you do at the end of it, or what do you do? Like, if your name, like our fitness business is called like CJ Coaching, Charlie Johnson Fitness. I thought about rebranding it, but how? Like I've managed, we do okay with my name still on it. But like start with the end in mind to some degree of like what is it you want from the business. And I think not enough people think far enough down the horizon with that. And I'll give a good example actually. So I won't say what business it is, but a friend of mine has a really big software business. They're doing a couple of $1 million a month. He wants to get investment, venture capital. And I asked him, okay, cool. So where's, like, I don't work in the industry, but I understand the basics. Where's the business registered for, like, business, right? Like tax and stuff. And he's like, oh, in Dubai. It's like, okay, you need to move that to the US because a venture capital company is much more likely to buy business in the US than in Dubai. And that one thing could make him fucking 50 million because I was just like, yeah, you just need to do that.
That could be the difference between selling it and not selling it later down the line.
And I think that's the importance of having the right direction, or also the right network and environment of people around you.
100%. And I think one thing, just to go back on what you said about sort of training Aidan and having your team, I think for me that was one skill that I really struggled with as well, is because like you sat on a Zoom call, you know, you're trying to teach people stuff and it didn't come naturally to me. But I think for you to get to that next level, you have to have people that are skilled, and the only way that you can do that is just spend time and invest into them, training them.
100%. I'd actually say one of the things I found has made the biggest difference for us is doing live events and getting all of our staff to fly there and spending time together. It obviously costs quite a lot, but the impact of that and like people being closer and like getting, not that people don't get on, but like seeing, actually having like personal relationships as well makes a big difference.
I like it.
I'm not going to lie, in an ideal scenario, I actually said to someone a minute ago, I'd be like, if I could have everyone in an office in Dubai, I would do. Because I think you get way more out of them. I think you're right there as well. And that's probably one difficulty with the online stuff, is you can't keep your eye on what everyone's doing all the time. But I think if you trust your team, and that's a big one, I think that with my team now, I trust everyone who's on my team. Whereas in the past, you know yourself, you look in Instagram DMs and there's one message sent, and then 20 minutes later there's another, and it's like, what's been going on for the last 20 minutes? Whereas now I just feel like I've got to that place with training them and getting rid of some people and bringing in some newer people that are more trustworthy. Then that kind of runs much better when you trust your team, I think, especially with the online setting. I think it also, one of the best moments of my business career, it's fucking gay, is when last summer I went to the Maldives for 4 days and I didn't have my phone. And I was like, it's the fucking weirdest thing in the world. So it's like, since I've been like an entrepreneur, I've been like fucking not like on it all the time or whatever. For the first time, just to be like, this is fucking weird. It's just like sitting on the beach and it's like, no one's fucking contacting me, nothing. And I was slightly paranoid about like the world coming to an end. And then when I came back and everything continued without me, I was like, I fucking did it.
And it's funny you say that, because we're going on holiday to the Maldives in like 10 days for a week, and I'm thinking like, first few days I'll turn my phone on and then maybe try and turn it off for a couple of days. I think it's one thing that we first spoke about on our very first call was like getting it to a place where you can have the days off, because it's all right building this big business, but if you can't ever switch off from it, because me and Ali work 7 days a week, even if it's just a few hours on a weekend, we're still always working, we never switch off, and you probably be the same. And having that thought of going to the Maldives, and even it's giving me anxiety to think about it, but I think we've got to a place now, because of what I've learned from you, that we can do that, and like you say, the world's not going to come to an end, and I feel like that will just refresh everything, and then it gives you the energy to just go again and keep pushing.
I think I've got some stuff for you to do after that. That's fucking sick. Because I did it again this year in February, and I was toying with going actually again in the next couple of weeks, but I've got too much shit I need to do. That's probably a limited belief, but in February, and again I went away, no phone for like 4 days. I think I read like fucking 6 books in like 4 days or something retarded. And then I actually came back and probably made more money than I'd ever made in a week before. I was like, fucking done anything. And that's where, I don't know, like crypto had gone up. I had some money come in from some investment properties and stuff, and I was like, that's interesting. And then you suddenly, what I said to you, we said earlier in the podcast, like rich people think they don't work. Like, that's when you suddenly understand it's like, it's a game of moving the chess pieces on the chessboard once you've got the machine put together.
Yeah, exactly. And it does take time, and I think you do have to go through a period of working every day.
You
and
eat shit.
3 years, whatever it is. I think 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we started the online business. I think maybe 2.5, 3 anyway, and I've not really had a day off. We've been on holiday, but every day I've worked, and I think this is the first time where the business is in a place where I'm like, I can actually turn my phone off and just enjoy a few days. And I think that's big, because you just resent the business otherwise if you just working every single day. And what's the point in having money if you can't enjoy it?
What would you say is the biggest limiting belief you've had broken, say, since working with us?
I think that's quite an easy one. I think it was just how much people will pay for a fitness program, because I think we when we first spoke, you're like, well, when we take it back to when we first spoke at your mastermind in February, and I didn't join the program till April, but we spoke about pricing in February, and you were like, you're just undercharging for what you're doing, and we probably were, because we were getting good results, we were changing people's lives, and we weren't charging enough for it. So the little pricing tweak that we spoke about at first, that was a belief breaker, because I never thought we were charging $197 per month for coaching at the time, and you was just like, you need to charge.
I think your closing rate was like retardedly high.
Yeah, it was literally closing like 80-90% at that price, and we swapped the pricing from $197 to $250, because you literally stood me at the front and said, you need to do this, and I was like, well, I've come to this event. If I don't take action on what you told me, then it's a waste of my time coming to the event. So I just listened to it, implemented it straight away. By 6 weeks later, when we spoke about joining the mastermind, I was already making like $5,000 a month extra from you telling me that one thing, and that paid for the mastermind anyway, and more. So back to your question, in the belief breaking, it was, I broke the belief that we could charge more than $197 per month, and then then I did like a 6 month upfront for like £1,500. The first time I did that, I was like, whoa, fucking hell, I can't believe this. If someone's, our average stay for a client is like 7 months. It's like someone's just paid for 6 months upfront, and then since then, I've sold 12-month packages on LinkedIn for like 5k, and I was charging $197 before and thinking people won't pay more, and then when you like get 5k in one go for someone who wants to work with you for the year, you just think, but the thing is as well, that you can help them more. They're more invested. If they pay 5k, they want to fix this problem. And like this guy lost like 25 pounds in his first month working with us because he was just all in on it. And I think, the biggest belief that I broke is how much people will pay for a fitness program. And, if you want someone to get in shape and they've got 4, 5, 6 stone to lose, you probably, monthly's not going to work for them, because they'll get so far and they'll give in. Whereas if they commit for 12 months, you need at least that to help them anyway. So it's better to give them the actual product that will fix the issue that they've got, and let them buy that rather than just buy monthly coaching, which they may not be as committed anyway with.
I couldn't have said that myself. And you want to sell the solution, and like the problem is that most people are taught to sell monthly. If someone's been fat for 20 years, psychologically their commitment's monthly, right? Whereas if they're literally like, draw a line in the sand, you're either fucking in or you're out, Adam. Like, you're going to lose the 20 kilos or not. Like, do you want to do this for 12 months or you not?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to be the new version of you or do you not? Like, because that's a big mental thing, right? And it's the same thing for me when you put money down on something and it's enough, you're like that's a bit. You're like, fuck.
You take action.
Yeah, well, I'll give an example. I bought 2 properties at the end of August, start of September. So that 3 weeks where I was like, worked every day, I was like, fuck, I need to make some money back. So I was like, fucking like on it, because I was like, I suddenly had a bit of pressure again. And I think more of that story as well for people is that you should always have a bit of pressure on you, because that's good. Not to the point where I've got other friends who are really successful who literally keep no money in their bank account. But like, I personally find if I have a certain amount, I get a bit comfortable. I'm like, well, this is okay. Yeah. Where I actually think it's important that you put pressure on yourself, because that like is what helps you get to the next level. Yeah,
100%. And I think exactly the same for me is if I've got a bit of pressure on me and I know like things are not going very well, or I feel like things I could be doing better, I'll work hard and I'll work all day. If I'm comfortable and I'm in a good place and I feel like, if I take my foot off the gas a bit, then I'll just literally just chill out all day and think, what are you doing? So I think definitely agree with that.
I don't know what you said that chill out day. It reminded me before I started the mastermind, my fitness business, I was almost like semi-retired. I'd take off like 3 afternoons a week because I didn't like.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, a lot of it was not automated, but it was like delegated off. So I was like, almost a little bit lost. Not lost, but like.
Yeah, you had the time.
Yes, it's almost like how you felt when you give away the coaching and everything else. You're like, what the fuck do I do with all this time now, right?
Yeah.
And I'd actually say one of the big mistakes then people don't understand is like, what do you fill that time with which is valuable, which is then the next conversation, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a big thing is it's all right getting the time back, but if you just spend that time sat on the sofa watching YouTube, it's not going to make you any more money. If your goal is to make more money, then I think you need to definitely make sure that you're learning the right skills to get to the next level. And I think that's where a program comes in, like yours comes in handy, because you can say, look, this is where you're at now, this is what you need to learn, this 1 or 2 things, and that'll get you to the next level. And I think if you don't spend the extra time that you've got doing that, and you don't have the right person to even tell you that or show you and open your eyes to that, then you'll stay stuck at the same level. You'll have a nice life, you can chill out, you can relax, but I think for most people who are hungry, that's only nice for so long. And
you'll be unfulfilled though, I think, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. It's all right, for a few weeks or whatever, but soon enough you're going to get pretty bored. And for me anyway, I start thinking about all sorts and thinking really deep thoughts, and then I just get fed up. So it's better for me to just have something to work on all day.
I think what happens at that point though as well is you get frustrated, because you almost get frustrated with yourself because you're not really pushing yourself the way you're capable of, and you're just coasting. And I think this is the harsh reality for any coach listening to this. The reason most coaches get stuck between 10 to 20k a month is they get comfortable and they coast.
Yeah.
Like, I can afford a nice lifestyle, I can chill out, I can work 3 days a week. And I've actually spoken to people before and be like, yeah, you're not a good fit to work with us because you just don't want it. Like,
you're not hungry.
Yeah, and it's like, that's cool, you want to be at, I spoke to someone who's been on another mastermind for 6 years at the same revenue of 10k a month. I was like, so you started like the same time I did, and you're still at the same point you were then. It's like, what's the point of this almost?
Yeah, and that's what I like about the 7-figure scaling systems is everyone in there is hungry. It's the environment. There's not many people in there who just want to coast. Everyone wants to push and help each other and just keep pushing for the next level. And I think that's the community that if you do want to get to the next level, you need to be around a community like that. You don't want to be around people who are just coasting, because then you'll coast. Or you don't want to be around people where you're doing the best, because if you're doing the best, you think you're doing really well, when you need to come into an environment when you're not doing the best, and then you'll push again and get to the next level.
It's big fish, small pond syndrome, right? And it's like, you want to be like the small fish in the big pond, because then you can grow and you're like, holy fucking shit, this is what people are doing.
Yeah, because you realise what's actually possible. Because, where I'm from in Leeds, doing 10k a month is,
wild.
Yeah, there's probably not any online coaches doing that, but you come here, 10k a month, it's not that much when you look around and people are doing like way more than that.
It's funny you say it, just reminded me. I remember when I was an estate agent, we rented a house. I think it was like $7,000 a month, and the guy was making 20k a month. And I was like, fuck me. I was like, I can't imagine making 20 grand a month.
Yeah.
And I was like, and now, not that there's anything wrong with that, but like, that like it just blows your perspective in terms of like how you used to think based upon what you're exposed to where you are now. Which I also think helps you being in Dubai as well, because you're exposed to that even more so.
100%. That's, I think, one thing about Dubai is no matter how well you do, there's always someone doing way better. You've had a good month and then someone just drives by in like a £500,000 Urus or whatever, and you're just like, oh, okay,
it's, I get reminded every day when I drive into my car park in my apartment block, there's like a Bugatti Veyron there that's like 1.5 mil, and I'm like, someone's dropped that in a car. I'm like, fair play. And I think that's the part of the fun for business for me, is like, I enjoy the building part, and I enjoy the part of like building other pieces of businesses, because like you said to you with the pricing, you can say one thing and it fucking changes everything. And that's where I get huge fulfillment, because it's super cool when you can have that impact.
100%. I think I definitely agree with that in terms of, environment as well, just being I think environment is probably the biggest thing that will dictate your success, and being around people like that, I would say, or being in a place like Dubai, if you're an online trainer and you can have the freedom to come here. If you do want to grow, like, there's nowhere better for you to be, I would say.
I would also say that, and the tax advantage of being here gives you a strategic advantage. You can outspend everyone. So like, when you actually look about growing a business, it's about who can, once you go above 20, 30k a month, is who can spend the most to get the customer. If you're not paying tax, you can spend more than anyone else.
I've got a question for you, actually. Would you stay in Dubai now if you had to pay the same tax as the UK? If say the whole world, you had to pay the exact same tax, would you stay here now because of the environment and because of the lifestyle here, even if
yes, I think so.
Yeah, same for me.
I probably wouldn't have moved initially.
Yeah, same.
But I'm a logical. That's a really fucking good question. No one's ever asked me that. I'm a real logical thinker, and I just couldn't not do it. Mm-hmm. I think I'd be happy here anyway because I like sunshine, I like lifestyle. But exactly. If it was the same and I was in the UK and then had to make a decision, I think it would probably have put me off of it.
Yeah.
But I think in hindsight, I'd been happier here anyway.
Because the tax saving was attractive for you to move here as one thing, and the lifestyle and everything else. But now you're here and you realise how different and like what the environment is, and the service, and just how much more motivated you are. I think even if the tax was the same or maybe slightly more, I'd probably just stay here because I'd probably make more because I'd be more inspired anyway. And I think one of the big things what I realised about Dubai, not just the tax, but like just the sun. That's the thing that gives life to everyone. And I think when I first moved here, I had issues with my bank account. Like they lost my bank card, and the bank was like 45 minutes in a taxi away, and I was like stressed because I'd just moved there. I had so much to do. Spent like 2 hours in the bank trying to get my card. No closer to getting my card. Come outside, it's sunny. I was like, oh, it's not that bad actually. 'Cause, the sun just makes you feel good. So I'd definitely stay as well.
100%. If there was anyone who was sitting on the fence about asking for help for joining mentorship, whether it was with us or someone else, what would you say to that person?
Good question. I think if someone was sitting on the fence about asking for help, I would say, look, if you want to get to the next level, because not everybody wants to get to the next level, so that's fine if you want to stay where you are, but if you want to get to the next level, you need somebody to show you how to get there, because it's like a fitness client. They want to lose weight, they think they can do it on their own, but if they could, they'd have already done it. So I think they need someone, and they need to pick someone, first of all, who they resonate with, but secondly, who's done the thing that they want to do. I think that's key, is if you're looking at a mentor who's just teaching you from theory, like what we spoke about before, or someone who's got to 40 clients and filled up their own calendar and, thinks they're all of a sudden like a business coach, they're not going to get you to the top level. If you want to go right to the top and you want to push and have a massive impact, help hundreds of people, and build a team and have a business that will run on its own as well, I think you need to look into whoever is going to teach you that and make sure they've got that as well.
I'd agree. Very good answer. Where can people find out more about you, Adam?
Just on Instagram at Adam Lowe. Nice and simple. I'm only on one platform. Well, I'm on LinkedIn as well now, but we're not going diversified on platforms yet. So it's at Adam Lowe on Instagram.
Scale the two. For anyone who's looking to scale your business, if you hit the link below this, you can book in a free call with myself and the team to find out how we can help you. We've also got a huge event happening 10th and 11th of Dubai on the Palm, which is going to be our mastermind event, 2 days teaching in person, so you can get a ticket for that. If you've enjoyed this podcast episode, which I've really enjoyed the conversation with Adam, I see you smiling, he's enjoyed it as well. Yep. Make sure you share this with a friend who needs some motivation and inspiration of how to get to the fucking next level, like how Adam has. Subscribe, and we'll see you next episode soon. Thank you, dude. That's sick.
Thanks, mate.